just want to give you guys a quick update on the development. So for the past couple of months, actually, we have been very busy with not just the game development itself, but also, as you all know, we're migrating from Valis over to BSC, right? So this is a huge effort. Fundamentally, even though Valis and BSC are EVM compatible, but there are many cases where they're different in a very subtle way. So we need to kind of unplug many different plugs and kind of replug back into the platform and the system. So all in all, because we never actually developed a bridge before. So I think in the very beginning, there were some glitches. But now as we are moving forward, progressing forward, I do see on a daily basis, there are people bridging over from Valis over to BSC, and seems like it's running smoothly. So the plan for now, so I think there's one question asked, when are we going to support the Polygon and the comic series? So as you know that some of the NFTs and comic pages we launched in the past are on Polygon, right? So the next step is obviously to support the migration of that chain and also those NFTs. And some of you might wonder why we do that in the first place. The answer is very simple. It's because Valis is not being supported by OpenSea, only Polygon and Ethereum at the time. That's why we want to launch the NFT on Polygon so that we could get the exposure, right? So so that's coming up. So you're looking at in a matter of next couple of days, we will in the next couple of days, the following things will happen. So first thing, we're going to re-enable the Scar airdrops, and also some of the existing functionality that we already have on Valis chain. So the airdrops, the upgrades, and everything. And once that's open, we will enable the Polygon chain and also the migration of Polygon assets. Okay, so that's coming up one by one. And I know that we promised that we're committed to deliver the bridge effort. Probably in early April, or even in March. We committed that we want to do it within March, but it's a very complicated matter, and we want to make sure that everything is executed in a secure, and also it has the integrity of the data, and the transaction and everything needs to be in place. So that's why we need a little bit more time. So that effort alone actually took us a very long time, and a lot of my engineers are actually devoted in this effort. Okay. So moving on, because I want to make this more of a conversation instead of me showing you all the slides and everything. So the idea is, while we are working on some of the on-chain activity, the game side of effort is still progressing forward, which I haven't actually get a chance to share in the development updates. But the idea is, like I said in the previous updates, we are looking after all these meta game system, where we need to set them up and also make sure they're in place, right? So all the meta game system besides the core gameplay. So we were working on the meta game system, such as the storefronts, and so besides all that, the mission system, the reinforcement UI, so all these need to be put in place. Okay. Now, if you don't know what is the reinforcement UI, so that's the loosely connected game gameplay experience that's tied to the core game system, where we are allowing the defensive side of the player to trigger a passive skills that, or an active skills that will counter the attack. Okay, so all that is being worked on, and we're putting all together all this meta game system. So actually, we still have a few meta game system that is not done yet, among which the biggest one is the marketplace, and I will talk about it in the maybe later. But that's a must. So that system is a must, and it's very important to support the ecosystem. But that one, it will come after we complete a story. Okay. Now, another big part of what we are working on is the tutorial, which is what we call the FTUI, which is the first time user experience. So this is probably the most important part of the game development effort. If not the most important, it was probably the most crucial aspect of the entire gaming experience. So this system is designed in a way that it will allow us to do the analysis, analytics, and also optimization as we roll forward in the future on the weekly basis or even on a daily basis. So the idea is when we will keep a log of the player when they download the game and then they click launch the game, and every single step of the way until they exit the game. No matter if they exit by force or by leisure, no matter, right? So we will keep track of all the steps that they take when they exit, and then we will also continuously record when they come back. All right. So by that we could calculate the user retention rate. Okay. So it's a very common practice in a game development effort, so that we will keep a log of the next day retention, the 3-day retention, the 7 days retention, and also 15 and 30 days retention, respectively. And by doing so, it will allow us to optimize, give us a chance to analyze and then optimize it, right? So for instance, if we realize right after the screen, the retention rate drops, right? So it goes from 30% down all the way down to 70%. So there might be something here that we think that it could be improved to up the retention, right? And then it's a very painstaking process. Like after you launch the game, you just kind of need to go through on a daily basis and one by one, and then figure out which place that you need to optimize, and then optimize it, and then relaunch the game, right? And then you take samples, and you take it's a process called A/B testing, where we will do the testing when we launch the game. Okay, so that's the FTUI that we worked on, and alongside with that, this is more related to the on-chain side of effort. So having been on BSC now, at least we're partially on chain, on the BSC chain, not 100%, but we will start push forward with some of the NFT plans that we had in the past. So the idea is we will do another, hopefully that we could launch another land sale on BSC. And we will continue with our effort with the PFP NFT. And then the reason for PFP NFT to be very important is because it has attributes and elements that will tie into the game. So let's say if you able to collect this airship on the background, then you will be entitled to an airdrop, an item that will allow you to be used in the game, where it will enable you to create a better character. So by the same token, some is designed to tie with the backgrounds, and some is designed to tie with the weapons and armor, right? So that need to be considered early on, because any changes that we make outside of the game will eventually related to what we want to be in the game, right? So it needs to be intertwined. When it needs to be intertwined, then you need to think very carefully in terms of what you need to do beforehand. So that the NFTs, and also once we have everything settled, we will host another land sale on the BSC side of the chain. All right, and I put just a few graphics here, but just to show you guys, the concept of the decoration assets or decoration building that I mentioned, I think previously in the developer updates. Like I said, there will be collectibles, right? There will be collectible series where you could create your very own, a very unique in-game scenery, and these scenery are it comes in a set, right? So if you are just say hypothetically, if you're able to collect this plus this plus this, then you will unlock a reward. Alongside with that reward, you will get calculated into a ranking system where you will earn a higher score. And then special visual VFX will get triggered, and then you will be able to see that in your home base or your space shuttle or your land. Okay. And in order to facilitate that, we need a lot of decoration assets, and then create different combinations, right? So we need to continue to flush out all those art assets. So not all the art assets are listed here. Not all the art assets are listed here since our last talk, but there's a rundown of all the different assets that we prepared and also executed. I just list a couple of them here. All right. And moving on to another big system that we did for the game. So notice how I mentioned about the level editor that we created. We equip our game with a mini in-game editor that will allow our player to create their very own defensive strategy, right? So obviously it was also depending on what they have on their deck of hand, their deck, right? So and how they create manufacture their units. So to some player, they don't want that nitty-gritty details or the trouble of going through placing all this units on the battlefield. So this is the mini in-game editor that you could actually maneuver, but it goes so quick. There's a auto button where you just click on it, it will automatically place using some pre-calculated logic. It will place the units and also the towers on top for you to help you do the defensive setup. Okay. And so that's the idea. And then once you do the placement, you could experiment it. You could trial run it. You could test it, whether that makes sense or not. And then you can make adjustment and modification to it. Okay. So that's the auto level editing functionality. And obviously the core gameplay itself, we never stop, right? So I mentioned about how we are dealing with different units, and then there are kind of different units are counteracting each other. That's why we come up with different skills that we want to implement, right? And once we implement that skill to a character, we're going to put everything together and put into the battle. So that's a continuous design process and effort that we go through almost on a daily basis. So the team, that team basically is responsible for character design, level design, and they they want to make sure that the skill is balanced and is not too powerful. Some of the functionality that you see here is not finalized. So, for example, that airship that has the beam of the large lightning beam of attack, that is not completed yet. But I just want to throw it out there just to let you guys see the kind of variation that we're thinking about, and perhaps in the future that we could throw into the game to make it more interesting. So another alternative is paratrooper, right? So instead of an airship launching the attack using bullets or grenade or whatever, there's another options where you could airdrops paratrooper to the battlefield to help you defend the offensive side of attack. But you get the idea. It's a iterative process. You create, you integrate, you deploy, you test, you adjust, you optimize, and you create another set, and then you optimize. And notice that these are tied to the elements that we want to put in place. They are all tied to the simulation part of the gameplay, where you manufacture, you build, and you produce. They're all tied together, right? So some of the units are more rare than the units that, they're more special than the common ones, right? So all those are being considered. Yeah, okay, so that's the comeback. But to put everything into a perspective, kind of consolidate everything into a perspective. So we have this pre-recorded. This is from probably 2 weeks ago. Pre-recorded video footage of what we currently have. Obviously, we didn't record all the system functionality, but it kind of show you guys how the entire game is going to look like. So this is a very entry-level account where the player doesn't have a lot of units, and it doesn't have a lot of decks on his or her hand. It will be a very simplified version of the battle, which you guys already see the battle. So I'm just gonna fast forward to the part where I think is more relevant for the purpose of showing you guys a more complete picture. So let me just fast forward this. Sorry, let me just fast forward a little bit. Okay. Now from this point onward, it will take you to sorry, so as you can see, the naming convention is not being adjusted yet, so it's still called Valhalla, but as you all know, we rebranded into ScarQuest, which it will reflect that in a newer build. But I mean, you guys seen footage of this, like in bits and pieces, but this is just kind of show you guys like everything is being integrated and being put together as we move forward, and also with all the unit creations and unit upgrade functionalities and are in place. But also if just bear with me here, let the video play. Okay, so the upgrade And obviously, there are the building part of the gameplay. And there's research facility allow you to create new facility and building. And keep in mind there are different types of buildings, right? Like I said before, some is functional purpose, but some is more of a decorational purpose. And the video doesn't capture where you could actually go to the land and it will show you how you build and how the setup is being done. But I think you've seen the footage of that also before. Okay. So it's coming together, and all the meta game systems are coming together as well. But you get the idea. So that's the overall the overall quick updates on for the past couple months, I would say 2-3 months. And let's go to the Q&A if you guys have no other questions or comments that you want to make right now. Are there any? Okay, so if not, then I will jump straight right into the first question I would get. Should I open up for people to ask, or do you because there's a pre-collected questions, and I see some of you are in this call. Why don't we do this? So for the ones that is not for the people who raise their question and it's not in the call, I'll go through them very quickly, one by one. And for the ones who are in this call, you can feel free to ask me. All right, feel free to raise your question here again, and then I'll answer them if you have any doubts or concern or questions. Okay. So the first question I'm gonna talk about is there's one from the Twitter space today. It's asking whether there will be an internal messaging system on ScarQuest for guilds and such. Okay, so I never really talked about the guild system yet. So the guild system is being worked on. So the two biggest systems that I haven't stressed and talked about too much is the marketplace and the guild system. Okay, and these two systems are very critical and very important. The way I look at it is, so to answer the question in short, yes, there will be a messaging system within ScarQuest from player to player, player to system. You could send message to anyone, any player. And then there will be a messaging system for the guild member to communicate. But in terms of dealing with marketplace and the guild system, I would like to focus on, it's not that they're not important, they're very important, but I would like to focus on Futui, which is the first time user experience, more than those two systems at this stage in time. The reason for this is because no matter how much you do, if your retention rate is only 8% or less than 10%, the 90% who leave the game or the drop off, they're never going to look at the beauty of your game as an entirety, right? So the first bottleneck or the first challenge that we need to take to face is to make sure the retention rate is at a healthy level. Okay, so that's the most important thing that we need to tackle. And this is a very scientific challenge, and that every project needs to face. Okay, it's not that it's not important. Like I said, the guild and also the marketplace are very important, and we are actually working on that. It's just that I never talk about it very actively. Okay. So the second question that I see is, will you be able to pick your miner that harvests your land, so that as to avoid lazy miner not working and not hard enough on your land, or kick him out when you want. Okay, so yeah, so there, the notion of the scholarship that we inherit from Axie Infinity, which essentially is the a way for the free-to-play player to make money, and also a way for the investor not to worry about too much, but have someone do the work for you, right? So there are many ways to earn money in this game. You don't need to be a renter in order for you to make money as a free-to-play player or the non-paying players, right? You could grind in a game. You could earn assets which eventually you could sell for money, obviously with some restriction and also time constraint, right? But for the whale, the player who doesn't really, they just want to invest, right? They don't want to spend time playing the game. They could hire people to play for them, right? So one of the options that they have is they could rent out their land, and in return, those renter, they could go out and do the work, earn money, and then there was splits between the landlord and also the renter. All right, so that's the concept. That's the foundation. Now, yes, as a landlord, you'll be able to choose. You should be able to pick and choose, who rents your land and who performs better. But there's a term when you sign, right? Just like when you rent a property, right? Unless something that is detrimental to the properties, right? There's a contract that needs to be honored by both parties, right? So there will be a duration where you need to honor as a fundamental rules that you need to go by, right? Unless this guy is throwing parties and trashing the house and get kicked out, you still need to honor the term and duration. In our system, we don't have anything that will allow the landowner or the renter of the land to bomb his or own rented property, right? So there's no notion in that regard. So it's more of honoring the term. There's a time, there's a duration that you need to honor. All right, so that answers the second questions. And also on the Telegram live voice chat, I see there are 8 questions that were being recorded. So the first question is, what will be the project plan for marketing? I will not be the best person to answer the marketing question, but I will be a person to answer the marketing approach in regards to how to integrate the marketing effort with the game. Okay, so in essence, the FUTUI, which is the first time user experience I talk about, will tie to how you launch your marketing effort. So our marketing will divide into different aspects. So there is community side of organic and community side of effort. And there will be co-marketing side of effort, which we could do MMA, right? So those are fine, right? Those are organic and kind of free. Some of the marketing opportunity that we definitely need to pursue, or we exchange resource to do marketing, but and maybe work with the exchanges to help us do the marketing as well. But for the part I'm more focusing on is when we do marketing, and when every user acquisition action that we take, what's the impact of the user acquisition? Are these users get that their long-term retention rate is high enough, or are they low? Are they not good enough? So we will work very closely with the marketing team in that regard, where we would, they would need to design a banner, and for that banner needs to be effective, we need to measure it. Like when the ads get placed, how does it get carry on all the way to the retention, the next day, the 3-day retention, the 7-day retention, right? So there is a demographic that you need to go after, right? And then there is a retention rate target that you need to set up, right? So that kind of go hand in hand, and that effort is a continuous process throughout the duration, the life cycle of the product. Whenever you have a marketing, that's something that you need to do. The third question I'm seeing now is, will all the activity of ScarQuest be on chain? No, not all the activity will be on chain. It's impossible to have everything be on chain. The reason for that is it's because, you know, I'm pretty sure you guys all know, you know, there's need to be a proof, there's going to be a maneuver of the wallet, and it just doesn't make sense for any player where they want to upgrade their character. You know, they need to go through so much click, right? The user experience is going to be very bad. Now, having said that, there are some breakthrough and there are some technology I think they're coming up. It will alleviate or eliminate that kind of user experience. The goal is to eliminate, but I would like to use the words alleviate. But I think they are still far, a little bit far from the reality. Because what you need to do is you need to delegate some of the security to a more of a centralized third party, so that hence that will impose some kind of risk. I don't see that as a immediate solution that we need to think about, given the fact that, you know, we're getting very close to a point where we're gonna go into the launch period. We think that with our current strategy is still the best strategy that we should stick with. And then the next question is, what will be the platform to be used when the game is available? So the game is cross-platform, right? So it's going to be on PC, Mac, mobile. Mobile meaning iOS and Android. Okay. So the game is going to be available via APK, App Store, Google Play Store. You know, all these common store that you see will be available. Okay, and the next question is, what will be the target demographics of the game? So I would like to situate this game or the pursuit after the player who likes to play on the go and short session. So the demographic is actually, the age group is kind of wide. I see kids playing, these type of games from age 10 to like 50, right? So it's a very wide age group, but they like to play the type of game that doesn't require you to have a constant focused, intensive, constant focus. It's fun, right? You pick up, you play right away, and then you turn off, and then you go to another platform, you can carry on. It's an intermittent short session kind of gameplay where you play, you enjoy, right? So it's not a casual game. It's not a super duper hardcore AAA game, but it's a mid-core game combining with strategy and simulation, and also challenges that you could take for a very short session, right? So this is the type of game that similar to Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, and so the demographic is naturally wider than the hardcore AAA game MMORPG, which we think this is the best route to take for Web3 games, or a Web3 games that wants to bridge with the Web2 ecosystem. Okay. So the next question is about the arts of Valis in the comic. Will we have any changes? So yeah, I mean, so our priority again is to handle the bridge first, and then once we bridge over, we will tackle all these concerns one by one. We think any art related task is can be changed, right? So like, for example, the 3D model, right? We could change very easily. And similarly, the comic books, if we want to make some changes in there, I'm pretty sure we can make changes in there. But let's just stick with the priority first, which is the bridge. So yeah, the next question, which pretty much I already answered, which we are currently it's asking whether we're gonna create a bridge from Polygon to BSC. Yes, so it's already being created. We're testing it right at the moment, and we will launch it very, very soon. I'm going to go to the question. The first question is asked by Han Solo. So it's a very long question, but in short, you could chime in, Han Solo. But your question is basically the first question you're asking whether there's a way for bartering or exchanging NFTs, right? So yes, so like I said, a marketplace is being worked on at the moment, and marketplace is a very important part of the ecosystem. And then the reason why we need a marketplace or a customized marketplace for the game is because we want the enclosure, right? We want to enclose all the activity to be done within the game, so that you're not just going to go out there to the open seas and go out there to the open sea and start making trades on open sea. We want the trade and everything to be done within the game or the game's marketplace, because there will be more usage for Scar, right? So that's the idea. So the trading and everything will be done in the marketplace, which one of the major currency that you need to deal with is obviously Scar. Okay. So yeah, the second question that you have is, would it be possible to create or customize some of the skin and the character, or some of the you even asked about the claim logos and also the colors and everything, right? So yeah, so a lot of the functionality that you mentioned, you don't see it right now, but as we move through the launch period, you will see some of the functionality get opened up one by one. But what we have now is we do have, I think I mentioned about the NFTs where there's different side of the collection, and let's say if you collect an axe, a special axe, you could enable that axe to help you customize some of the character, right? So in terms of character customization, there's 3 tiers to this. The first tier is when you create a character, you don't know what you're gonna get, right? So it's from the randomized bag. No one knows, right? So it's a very a random system functionality that you don't know what kind of character you will get. Even myself, I don't know. All right. So once you get the character by chance, you will start increasing the level of this is second tier. Improve and enhance your character. So with enhance and improved character, there is also conditions that you need to deal with. So not everybody will get the same character. Let's say you have this character called A, and then you increase this character's star count and rarity grade to, let's say, 5-star, 5-star S. And if I do the same, my character and your character A will still be very different. So that's the way how we design our system. Okay, there's so many randomized, there's so many combination or permutation, so to speak, that it's very hard to guarantee that you and I will have exact same characters. Okay, so that's second tier. The third tier is what we call this skin or external integration with the character itself. So maybe you collect an egg, right? Or you collect an NFT from Polygon, and you want to be able to apply the skin to the character that you have. Or let's say you collect the NFT and this NFT airdrop a special weapons for you, and then you want to be able to fusion with or fusion with that specific character that's allowable to carry this weapon, right? So all that is also designed. That's the third tier. So by doing the 3 tiers design, it's very hard for you to run into similar or identical characters. And also to answer your question, yes, it's it's customizable. Okay. And the next question I have is from Crypto Gnome. So the first question is very good. It's actually asking about the security and also the potential risk of hack and also attack. So I think no matter where you are and who you are, and also what you do, anything that's related to Web3, that dealing with money, there's going to raise an eyebrow for, or it's going to raise the interest of a malicious act, right? So especially if your project is on the rise or it's successful, and no doubt that I think ScarQuest is on the rise, and I think we will do really well in the future. So we will face different attacks and also different challenges in that with that concept, with that route. So what are we doing, right? What can we do and what should we do? I think the first thing that we need to talk about is two parts. One is what are you going to do when you get attacked, or what are you going to do when you face a hack or attack? So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is how do you prevent it, right? So those two lines of discussion. And this is a very long topic, right? So we can list out all the things that we do here that we try to prevent a hack and an attack. So things like firewall, and also things like how we manage our key and how we manage our securities, and how we use the design to avoid the breach of or hack of our NFTs. So there are many measures and design we put in place. But more so, I think we also need to consider, like, once we get attacked, right? What should we do? So there are different strategy to take, right? So if, let's say, a wallet get hacked, an NFT pool got hacked, and it gets leaked out, what is the most common practice that people do, right? So a very common practice is those malicious or hacked NFT will get burned, and then the new one will get minted and will be redistributed, right? But even Axie Infinity get hacked, right? And they measured, they were able to pull it off, I think, at the time. But this is a big topic, and it's a very topic that needs to go into specific details. So I think this we can leave this for a next session when we have time. We could schedule maybe like an entire session on this discussion. And you guys can comment and suggest whether we are doing it right or wrong, right? So, but this is something that we are fully aware of, being having been in this industry for a good amount of time now. We've learned, and also we have been educated, so we are prepared. But whether or not we are prepared to the optimal degree, I think there's no way for you to claim that. There's no way for anyone to claim that, right? So it's a continuous learning process that we need to take. And from Crypto Gnome, that the next question is, how does project plan to incentivize early adopter participate in alpha testing, and what type of mechanism do they plan to use to gather valuable feedback during the alpha for further development? So for early adopter, we will have rewards and also and gifts that will incentivize people to come in and do the testing. Okay, but like I said, the primary purpose of testing, the alpha test, is to test the existing system functionality that goes beyond this internal testing, right? B is the FTUI, which is the first time user experience, which we will test the first round, and then we will execute second and third round. If you provide too much incentive to the alpha tester, obviously they are all going to stick with the game itself, and then they will continue to stay in the game. But they're going to come to a point where, as we finish our alpha test and we want to do another run of testing, that test will be straight up no incentive. Okay, so we need to shuffle that, because we want to gauge what is the true user experience and what is the, without any bias, what is the true retention rate that we could collect for that specific build. Okay. So yeah, so to answer your question in short, there will be incentive for the early adopter. We will discuss and propose an incentive on how to incentivize people to come. It will be it will be a part of the marketing strategy, I would say, right? So it will work in conjunction with the marketing effort. But when we get to the core part, the issues that we need to deal with, we still need to have a zero bias environment where we could test and collect the correct data. That's from the question I have from 3SGI. So the first question is very good. So the economy will be based on SCAR, Honor, and Vcash, right? So how will you maintain the balance in the game for the continuous user input? Meaning, how can we guarantee people can continuously devote their time and money into this game, right? These tokens will have a fixed ratio, use Oracle conversion, or adjust the token cost directly in game. So this is also related to reward and cost, right? So a very good question. So the reason that we need a three-tier tokenomics, which at the lowest, which is Vcash, and then we have Honor, and the higher level is SCAR, is because, very simply, we need to be able to cater to Web2 players. Okay, so whenever people ask me, what is ScarQuest or Valhalla, right? I always tell them that this will be a project that will be, our goal is to seamlessly bridge over the Web2 simulation players over to Web3. Okay, well, I'll always use that as my first pitch. The reason for this is because most of the Web3 players, they're investors, and we still have a tremendous amount of player base that's residing in Web2. And there, if you look at last year, we do see a clear dichotomy of you're either Web2 or Web3, right? If you're either a Web2 loyal player or you're a Web3 investor. But this year we do see this boundary get blurred, and then there are more people kind of are more willing to accept Web2 and also more willing to accept Web3. Take an example of this year's GDC, right, in San Francisco. We do see a lot of players there inquiring about Web3, and we do see a lot of studios start thinking about going to Web3. All right. So the amount of money that's generated on Web2 is a lot. You're talking about hundreds of billions, right? Like 200 to 300 billion a year. So how can you migrate over? Who is able to migrate over these type of player over to Web3? They're the true winner of the next decade, I think. Right. So with that in mind, you need some kind of currency that's pegged to US dollars, right? So you need to be able to open up this currency, this top up, to allow them to fill their need, right? So they need to be able to spend from Google Play and Apple Store US dollar in exchange for that currency and then be spent in a game, right? But on the other hand, we have on-chain user that needs to go from the chain over to the game. So what they will do is they will buy SCAR and then they will import the SCAR into the game and then use the SCAR within the game. Okay, so when you have a merchandise, right, how do you, or a service offer, a merchandise or a service that's offering to the players, regardless of your Web2 or Web3, how do you price that, right? if you price it in SCAR, let's say, let's say something is $1, right? An upgrade, it's going to cost you $1 in SCAR. But what if SCAR, just say raising the value, it goes go all the way from $1 to $100. So by doing the upgrade, it will cost $100. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, right? So some of the merchandise needs to be fixed in terms of dollar amount, but some doesn't really need to be, right? So, but we do need a dynamic exchange rate to facilitate this, right? So for example, if any price change in SCAR, then we will reflect that into the merchandise pricing. So this is the complexity that many Web3 studio, when they want to deal with Web2 player, they need to deal with, right? So for example, in Axie Infinity, right? When you do the fusion or breeding, it will charge you a certain amount, right? But that amount is not dynamic. So if you accept players, but they do change it, they do adjust it once in a while, right? So if you try to attract any Web2 player, come to this and then look at this, they will find it absurd. They will find it, why it goes up so dramatically or go down so dramatically, right? So there needs to be a mechanism that deal with the exchange rate, which makes it very, very tricky and also complicated. That is why the UI can be very simple, but the logic behind it is very difficult. Okay, so yeah. So to answer your question in short, yes, there will be adjustments, there will be conversion to facilitate that. The next question you have is seeing all the potential of use of customization of the land. Cooperative mode will be essential for create a high value basis mined empire building. This model will be implemented from launch day, or how will it be deployed? How powerful will this tool be? Is there implementation of this model planned with potential sponsor brand in the future? Yes. So, like Sandbox, right? Whenever you deal with land, simulation type of land, when coming from the Web2 world, simulation strategy is very fun by itself. You could create a very fun game, right? But then you tie with Web3, there's more opportunity that you can think about, right? You could partner with the real world brand or even real world merchandise to help do the inter promotion or cross promotion, right? So it's very likely in the future. Let's say if our game is successful, we don't need much. Let's say just in the very beginning, we were able to attract 50,000 to 100,000 users, and that would become an immediate. That would generate immediate attractions. We could further partner with different brands. Let's say, for example, we could come up with a Nike shoes for specific characters, right? It's an NFT, right? So, and if you're able to draw that, to create that by chance, then you could receive some external rewards, right? And whoever gets that rewards will have a monument of Nike logo, sit on top of your home base. That would be cool, right? Furthermore, our land building has this capability of launching ads, right? So as you all know, when you zoom out into the planetary system, there's different granularity. So at the innermost granularity, you're dealing with the building and also the management of your land. But let's say if you want to zoom out a little bit, and if you have a combined lands, right, we could partner with different brand and then set up a way for you to lease out the advertisement as a billboard, right? So your combined land, you automatically becomes a billboard, which is something that we have always. It's actually something that we haven't actually fully completed yet, but something that we are prepared for. We work on this actually. So only the land that that is combined is able to showcase an ad, and then the owner of this larger piece of land owner, they could lease out their real estate, which is the billboard, for profit. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's all the questions that I got from my team, and yeah, I think I covered them all. So I will leave this to you guys and see if there are any additional questions that you want to ask me.
Yeah, guys, we have like 15 minutes or something for questions if you guys wanna elaborate on the questions that the developer already answered, or
yeah, that was a pretty in-depth explanation of so many things. Answered quite a bit. One thing I would like to add is we have Crypto Gnome with us, who is now basically going to be running the Spaces and Telegram, and she came from our community, the Tiki Jumpstarters, which she'll be doing that as well. So this is kind of like her introduction into ScarQuest. So for people that watch this video, they'll kind of get to know who she is a little bit. And she's usually, out and around the Tiki Jumpstart, Telegram, and all that. And now she's going to be really integrated into ScarQuest, which is pretty cool. I think a lot of people are going to start to get to know her and familiarize. I was wondering, because I was talking to Nomi a while ago, do you have any specific questions now that you're kind of like a bit of a spokesperson, the voice?
she did posted a couple of questions that the developer answered, but yeah, like if you have any more follow-ups or whatever, Nomi, feel free to come on the stage.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. I think the only question that I really have is from a developer standpoint, what do you think, for myself going forward in the spaces and helping promote the project and game, what would be one of the most important points you would want to be promoted, I guess? What do you think the most exciting features are?
Okay. Yeah, I think the in terms of the project, right? I think okay, so ScarQuest is so unique that, and we are positioned well. We have positioned our project really well. So when we are promoting this project, right, there's many aspects of the project that you could actually promote. I mean, like, just think about it. We have the starting just from on-chain, we have the comic book, right? And then you go all the way into the land, the planetary system, and also the simulation type of gameplay. I think it depends on what kind of demographic that you're facing. And we all know that, no matter if you're a landowner type of player or you just want to collect comic book, people play games, right? Then the beauty of ScarQuest is that, we're not a type of game that's skill-based, like completely skill-based, and it's so intense that require you to sit in front of a computer, have your fingers on top of your keyboard, mouse, pay attention, and your eyesight cannot just, let alone, move away for 1 second, right? It's the type of game that you could play on the go, short session again, and then enjoy it, right? So the marketability, and I would say for ScarQuest, is quite high. And also it's very unique in a way that we create a internal economy that will blend really well with Web2 players. And we want more Web2 players to come over, right? And then see, this is the thing, right? Sorry, maybe I digress a little bit, but I think this is important. But this is the thing with Axie Infinity. The reason that Axie Infinity did so well in the very beginning is because they had this earn mechanism where they allow player to, play their daily mission and play their PvE battle and then earn their SLP, and then The player will, when they get the SLP, they dump into the market and in exchange for cash, right? But this is something that is not sustainable by design. In hindsight, it's 2020, but when they first designed it, they probably didn't know about this. But it's an infinite balloon that you're just gonna keep on blowing because you need to hand out SLP. So it's inflation type of design where you're just gonna continue to print, right? So by the time when they want to cut the reward in half or remove the reward from daily mission and PvE, players are just gonna be gone, right? So the mentality, the rationale is this, right? You need someone, anyone, Web2 player or Web3 player, that they have the tendency and the urgency to go on chain or just spend US dollar, right? And then buy something, whether Scar or buy an NFT or buy, in the Google Play Store or App Store, buy Honor, right? And then put it into the ecosystem, right? So that will further boost the valuation of your NFT and also your token, right? But it's not because Axie Infinity is printing, right? The project team is printing SLP, hand it out, printing SLP and hand it out. But we want it in reverse. We want more more people. They buy the token, they buy the NFT and put it back to the project, right? So that's the rationale. So everything that we're doing here, all the system design that we're trying to do, is we want to make sure that there are enough place where they can spend. For example, the randomized part of getting a unit, the randomized part of all the combination and permutation of upgrading the characters. All those are spending. And then it will create a desire, because there's an ultimate reward. It will create a desire for you to pursue after or go after your ultimate prize, right? And by doing so, you need, and then competition, right? By doing so, you need some Scar, some NFT to help you, right? So that's the idea. And then it's very subtle and very delicate, like how we handle the rewards, like how can you earn, right? So all those consider, it's a very careful thought process that we put up and put together.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks so much.
What about as the game progresses and then competition amongst other guilds and things like that? Did you hit on the ranking system much or anything about that, or is that something to be talked about later?
Yeah. So I haven't actually hit on the. So yeah, that's a good point. So for ranking system, we do have a very comprehensive ranking system. Notice how that there are harvesting and also city building and battle, right? So each and every one will have its individual ranking system. And when we roll the guild system, the guild will also have its ranking system. So the guild members will work collectively as a giant team, and then they fight for the ultimate guild prize, right? So that's also in place. There's an individual side of the effort, there's a group side of effort, right? So the thing that you see in Clash Royale, where there's a guild price, right? So that similar mechanism is also being implemented for ScarQuest, right? So that's there.
Yeah, that's super exciting to hear. Just when you dig into it, it's like there's so many different elements. How long did it take you guys to really just go through the designing phase before you actually started to even build anything?
I believe when we first started, we had a couple months in the very beginning, like going through the ideas and what are the stuff that we need to try to achieve and what are the stuff that we need to try to avoid. So yeah, we spent a good amount of time in the beginning just thinking about what we need to do. Now, having said this, if we think back at that time, during that time, we do see a lot of projects, they are overly ambitious, right? So they position themselves, want to build a next generation MMORPG on Web3. there's so many different type of projects, some scam projects and some overly ambitious projects. But looking at what we have now, I think we're well positioned. And I think in the very beginning, there was a very good long conversation within the team on, what needs to be avoided and what we want to go after, and the design that we want to do. So we spent a good amount of time in the beginning.
That actually brings up a question in my mind, another one. Since you guys are game developers and been in it for so long and diving into, Web3 with a very unique game, are there any other games in development that you guys are keeping your eyes on and watching out of curiosity, just because you're in the same space?
So we try to do that, but I guess it's never enough, right? So analyzing the competition, analyzing the market situation, and I would say this, right? So in Web2, there's so many different type of games already, right? There's so many different types of game. In Web3, people are trying different things. Like I said, there's tons of pumps and dumps project, right? So they just come up with the websites and then using graphics from some other game, and then they just want to pitch a game. And there are some projects that are overly ambitious, building an MMORPG, which we think is not going to work at this point in time. But let alone, right? If you just look at Web2, the type of game that generally do really well is the game like Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, even Brawl Star, which launched by Supercell, like 2-3 years ago. It can't compete with Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, right? So, generally speaking, the type of game that you allow player to play on the go, and also short session will do really, really well, right? So, but this type of game, they also have different strategy and different design. So there are games that are strongly connected, that requires constant internet connection. For example, Clash Royale. For Clash of Clans, it's completely no connections when loosely connected when you are playing the core gameplay. So I think we sit right in the middle. So we sit in the middle where we need a lot more connectivity than Clash of Clans, but we don't need as much connectivity than Clash Royale. And then we are a strategy game, which very well polished, and then it has this interesting planetary system packaged. And best of all, there's a way for you to earn, right? So at this point in time, we think we are very well positioned, and whether or not we can immediately see a fierce competition that comes up right away. I don't see it like right now, but whether or not they will come up like in the near future, well, it's hard to say. But I think we have a very solid product and also a very a good direction. We just need to carry out the entire development cycle and roll forward with the launch. I'm pretty sure it will generate good tractions.
Cool. I guess we have time for one more question. If anybody wants to make one final question before we wrap this up.
Hi, good night. I have a question about the BAGC community. What's happened with this collaboration? Do you have plans to add new characters by collaboration or other projects dynamics to add to the ecosystem?
Right. You mean the BAYC, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Like those special NFTs that were made for those group. Is that what you mean? 3GSI?
Yeah, about the characters, like to Bored Ape Yacht community.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you have some information on that? Because like I guess, yeah, I'm not.
I think it sounded like the question is there going to be opportunity for other games or brands to infuse a character into the game as a collaboration or like as a marketing collaboration?
Yeah, I think for BAYC collaboration, that's just a start, right? I mean, in essence, what we're trying to achieve is try to attract some of the better perform projects user to come over, right? So but I can already envision that once we completely settle on BSC and then we start rolling out with some test build, then more and more people is going to get more interested in the project, right? So we could further take this BAYC collaboration opportunity to offer them, additional, incentive, for example, special weapons or whatever, right? To further offer them incentive to continue to support or be interested in the project. By the same token, we could do the same for, for other projects as well.
Yeah, so you basically have the ability to, for example, partner up with another game or something and actually create a character, a special character, and then add that character as like a card, as a deck that could be then infused into the game, kind of a thing. Like that's something that can be done, right?
Exactly. And this is something that we should do. I mean, we should continuously push forward. Yeah. So it's a very good concept, and then this is something that we always start off, and then we will try to do whatever we can to go after these better perform project for collaboration.
I guess that would fall in line kind of similar to, like you were saying, if you look at the planet, right, and you can zoom in, there's what, is there 4 different levels of zoom in, or is it 3 different levels?
Yeah, so actually we can make it a lot more than 4 levels. But right now what's unlocked is 3, but 3 to 4 levels. But there's different granularity that we could set up. There's no.
Yeah, so for example, when you're looking at the full planet, if you say zoom in a little bit and you still see mostly like the land, and you're trying to kind of look around at different areas, there's an opportunity for like a large landowner to put a logo, or like you said, if he's collected 20 lots and he's put them all together, it'll open up potentially the ability to lease out that spot for like a logo of a company or a collaboration or whatever. And if you have 100,000 people or 200,000 people playing the game, and they're all looking at the big globe, and they're kind of like scrolling around the globe to look at the different areas, and they see like whatever it is, a big plot of land, that it's kind of like when you look at Sandbox, right? You look at Sandbox, you look down and you see all the different lands, and you see like there's all these companies that own like big sections, like BitBoy has a big section, and then like a lot of big companies like bought into, especially on Decentraland, same thing. If you're looking at it from the top, you see these logos all over the place, and a lot of big companies speculated in on it. So I would imagine that the game picks up a lot of users and it's a success. They're going to come piling in. Brands are going to want to gobble up or try to get land so that they can stick their logo on there, right? That would make sense.
Yep.
Which is similar to basically a partnership where you bring a character into the game, or even maybe buildings, right? Because it's not just characters, there's going to be buildings and stuff, and there could be like a building set by another company or another game or something. So I think it's open for all of that, is what it sounds like.
Yep. That's the idea.
Nice. Yeah, Han Solo needed to go, but he put that all his questions were answered, and yeah, I guess unless anybody has anything else, I guess this is a wrap. Okay.
Cool. So I mean, if you still have any questions, just feel free to submit them, and then I will try to answer them all. And obviously any suggestions or any comments are welcome. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining me on this session.
Yeah, guys,
Awesome.
come join CryptoGnome in some of the Twitter spaces. Whether it doesn't matter where it is, if she's online there, I think she's going to be collecting questions for like the next time that she's on any one of the spaces, whether it's on the Crypto Jumpstart or the ScarQuest. So make sure you guys follow the Twitter and start joining us all. A lot of us are in there like almost every time in the Twitter spaces. It's growing. So that's pretty exciting.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys. And yeah, have a good one. We'll talk later.
Thank you, guys.
Right on, guys. Awesome. Thanks for the update. Amazing.